Food citizen, changing the world one plate at a time. How many of you have ever worked in a restaurant, had to serve others, cooked for someone, taken out their trash? Sounds glamorous, right? Well, it did for me, and I got the restaurant bug early. My career started as a dishwasher and evolved to become a prep cook and then a line cook. Then one day, the chef comes to me and says that Johnny, the sous chef, isn't coming into work today. He wants me to be the chef, managing people, placing the orders, running the kitchen. For the first time in my career, I had to come out of my shadow and look up from what I was cooking and talk to people as an authority. Then years go by, and one day the owner comes into the restaurant and says, "Our executive chef is leaving, and I want you to take the position." Whoa, big time, moving up in the world. This is the time in your career when your name goes on the menu, and it's now your kitchen, and with the role comes responsibility. You have to manage a team of people, analyze costs, and make sure people like your food. Now you now have to not only manage a team of people, but you have to walk through those kitchen doors. I had to talk to people now. And with this opportunity, I learned that I had to craft my story and find my voice to tell the message of my food and my restaurant. No longer was I just a dishwasher or a cook. I was a chef, a business owner, a constituent, a member of a community, a food citizen. But the story doesn't start there. Go back to a quieter time, before social media and smartphones. 75 years ago, farm to table was a way of life. Remember your grandparents? Most of them were farmers or grew gardens to feed their families. Our nation lived a more agrarian culture and lifestyle, and growing our own food, putting up produce, preservation of food was a day-to-day task. Fast forward to today, and we live in a fast food, fast-paced world where almost 20% of our meals are found behind the wheel of a car. Through my work as a chef and owner of the Marketplace restaurant, I found that I can change the way people think about food, as well as their relationships with food. You can learn a lot about people by what they eat and how they eat. Food is the gateway to culture, to history, and to heritage. When was the last time you accomplished anything in a meeting in the boardroom? Real change happens when we break bread and add some social lubrication to the conversation. Culinary diplomacy goes farther than any sales pitch I've ever heard. As chefs, what we decide to put on our menus and ultimately on the plate at your table has a great impact on the world around us. Our food culture in America has grown beyond meat and potatoes, and people are beginning to think again about their health and the food they eat and the wealth and health of their communities. And now many people are beginning to vote with their fork. Cooks have a direct connection between the community and the people who grow, raise, and forage for their food. It's a unique connection between the people and the land that most Americans no longer see. But I've had the opportunity to see the shift in how we eat, and frankly, I think it's scary. Fleeting are the days of the home-cooked meal. Now only about half of America sits down for dinner together every night at the family table. Really, it's facts like these that have led me to learning more about cooking and really more about why we eat the way we do here in the U.S. Throughout my travels, I've seen both first world and third world countries around the globe. In poor countries, they tend to make more with very little. While they may not have the surplus of food or health care we do here in wealthier countries, they're more connected to the land and what they're directly growing and how they feed their families. They still cook. As our American lifestyle continues to get busier, we're eating out more and more. So it's increasingly important to make good choices about the food we eat when we're out in the town or when we're eating on the go. So why should you care about a chef's voice? Nowadays, media is constantly filled with chef interviews, TV cooking shows, the next food craze. Like it or not, we are out there. And chefs are no longer a blue-collar, behind-the-scenes profession. We are community builders, business owners, and large employers in our communities. Through food, we're able to shape business models that are sustainable and are examples for other businesses to model after. We keep our money in local communities. We know that by supporting the well-being of the community, that in turn our communities will support us, creating a symbiotic relationship. And we take time to make relationships with our growers and artisan producers so we know how our ingredients are grown. We made a connection back to the land the way our grandparents and great-grandparents used to. Real food for real people, and we think you can taste it. Chefs can play a role in becoming active food citizens, helping to shape the health and the economy of their communities by sparking local food movements, reaching out to our politicians and small business owners to demand better regulations for issues like school nutrition, fishing regulations for more sustainable seafood, and better SNAP benefits or supplemental nutritional assistance programs for at-risk and at-need communities. And this creates better food for all. Second to doctors, people look to chefs and those who cook their food for advice and input on their health. That's a powerful statistic. Our voice as chefs is strong. People are listening and eating and now voting with their forks. If we want to have vibrant communities with strong local economies, food comes first. And if we can shape the health and nutrition of our local communities, we can shift our economy and truly create a more sustainable way of living. My town of Asheville is undoubtedly a foodtopia. It's a land of plenty. We have many farms, weekly farmers markets, and abundant access to fresh water and wild foods. It's great to live in a Portlandia episode where we have access to local and organic and farm fresh. But what does it look like outside of our bubble? Just right outside of Asheville is one of the biggest food deserts in the Southeast, where access to food is limited and people are not eating up to U.S. nutritional standards. This doesn't seem right. Everyone deserves access to fresh, healthy food. So as food citizens, it's our responsibility to look beyond the people who have and look to the people who have not, working together to make change for all. As our world has industrialized, it's prompted major shifts in our food system. A few examples here. The rural workforce employed on U.S. farms dropped by about 50% in the 80s and 90s. In the late 1800s, over 70% of the American workforce worked on farms. Today, about 15% of our workforce works on farms. Only 1% of all the farms in the world are larger than 50 hectares, but they control about 65% of the world's agricultural land. In our country, 20 million school-aged children eat school lunch every day. 13 million of those school-aged children are now on federally subsidized school meals, and the feds only allot $1 per day per student. I don't know about you all, but it's pretty tough to feed somebody a $1 a day. I don't know if I could do it. The U.S. is the only country globally to not label products for genetically modified organisms, or GMOs. Most countries globally give their citizens the right to know what's in their food. Federal fisheries are also being depleted from overfishing and ocean acidification due to climate change. Species like bluefin tuna are now at only 3% of their original numbers. So what's next? It can't all be bad, can it? We need to take back the land and take back our health. Rural economies are the key factor in our food system. Among the hidden costs of industrial food production are its effects on small family farms and rural communities, which include the loss of nearly 4 million farms in the U.S. since the 1930s. Sustainable farms support local economies by providing growing jobs for members of the community and purchasing supplies from local businesses. A University of Minnesota study showed that small farms make the biggest contributions to spending within their local economies to operate their farms. Locally owned farms have a multiplier effect. For every dollar the farm spends in the community, a percentage remains in local economy, contributing to the economic health of the community. So by eating as close to the plant as possible, we're diminishing the process that industrialized food goes through. All right, so it's a lot of information, and I'm sure by now you're thinking it's probably time for a drink. So let's talk about wine. Take a look at how winemakers harvest their grapes. As a grape matures and ripens on the vine, its Brix level, or the natural sugar level in the grape, grows. So vintners are looking for the most mature, ripest grapes to make the best wine. Riper grapes equal more natural sugar, which equal alcohol and better tasting wine. But the same is true for all fruits and vegetables. The closer we can harvest from the plant at the highest level of ripeness, the brighter the color, the better the flavor, and the more nutrients in those fruits and vegetables. When we buy food that's grown across the world, it's being grown to a state of underripeness. So that means when you want to eat strawberries in January, they're coming from thousands of miles away and are being picked in an immature state. So the flavor, the color, and the nutrients aren't there the same way as when a vegetable ripens on the plant. So the formula is simple. Eat closer to the farm, eat healthy by eating local. Increasing sustainable food production results from concerned consumers making informed, responsible choices. Vote with your dollar and vote with your fork. By purchasing sustainable foods from your local farmers market, local restaurants, or grocery store, you support the farmers who are raising food responsibly and actively encourage the growth of a more sustainable food system. Wherever possible, instead of spending your money on industrialized agriculture, give it to a small sustainable farmer. Buy foods directly at farmers markets, farm stands, or through your CSA. Tell your school boards that you want healthier communities and higher standards for school nutrition. Tell your politicians and tell them to vote with their fork. Get involved and let your voice be heard. Be a food citizen. Let's change the world one plate at a time.